Welcome to Wisdom Journey, the podcast where we explore the real stories, lessons, failures, and breakthroughs behind building a meaningful business and life online. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and today's conversation is one founders, creators, and entrepreneurs need to hear. Our guest today is Amanda Saima, an entrepreneur, talented, and patented inventor, and host of the podcast Brain on Loan. Amanda has built businesses from the ground up, including a collegiate apparel company with over 150 NCAA licenses. But her journey took an unexpected turn when protecting her own patented products led her into a complicated legal battle over intellectual property. In this episode, we're diving deep into entrepreneurship beyond the highlights reel, the realities of protecting what you build, navigating power imbalances, resilience during high stakes moments, founder mistakes, trust, and the mindset required to keep moving forward when things get messy. Welcome to the podcast, Amanda.
Thank you, Wisdom. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We were talking earlier before I pressed record, and I'm kind of curious, what was the first official entrepreneurship project? Yeah, so yeah, I think this was the one that really, kind of made it official that I'm an entrepreneur.
What was my first project?
Yeah, the entrepreneurship journey.
Well, okay. Not counting like a lemonade stand or whatever I had
I
when I
mean,
was little.
that's
Yeah.
business.
Okay. So, definitely, as we were speaking before you hit record, I mentioned that I worked in politics out of college, and I became a top fundraiser in the state. I met a lot of self-made business owners, a lot of self-made wealth that like really fascinated me, and that's definitely what inspired me to pursue financial freedom through entrepreneurism. My first project, though, before I even started my apparel company, was at a very young age, in young adulthood. I worked for myself. I went and worked for a campaign. And then from there, I just started taking on clients. So rather than working full time just for one organization, I started taking on multiple clients. So I would say that was probably my first experience as an entrepreneur, um, managing myself, not working under any, specific boss, starting an organization and working as like a contractor. I would say it's fair to say that that's like my first entrepreneurial um experience, and not not complex, not complex even close to like my other businesses, but definitely just small lessons here and there, right?
Yeah.
That kind of led me to believe that I could maybe take it a step further and do something a little more challenging.
Well, I want us to go take like a microscope and go to a micro moment. Every time business owners they interviewed, they will say, "Oh, I started a business and now we'll make millions and stuff like that," which is awesome, right? But then for the person who is broke and living a paycheck to paycheck, they're wondering, "So how did you start a business? Where did you get the money? Well, how did you?" And so many questions are popping. So I'm curious, how did you move from idea for the very first business and say, "Okay, someone is actually paying me money, for this thing." And did you have to borrow money? Did you start with $0? Like, what was it like?
Yeah, I mean, I was able to self-fund my first business a little bit. I was a
Okay.
young mother, I was newly married, young mother. We weren't swimming in cash. I don't come from wealth. So, there was definitely in the beginning a lot of areas where I had to get really creative with how I was going to bring my product to market. So, with my apparel company, for example, um, I had an idea in my head. I thought, okay, there's a lot of college like spirit wear out there, but it's all t-shirts, it's all sweatshirts and sweatpants. Like I wanted to do something a little more fashionable. So I thought, I'll do sweaters. No one's doing college sweaters. I didn't go to fashion school. I didn't even go to business school. I was a history major. I thought maybe I was going to go to law school. Thankfully, we had technology back then. It's way better now, called the internet, where I could really start doing like some research on where I would even begin, how I would start the business. If you have an idea, some of your listeners are like, I have an idea. I really don't have any money. How am I going to do it? Well, first of all, You can create a business very easily online on your own, checking those boxes, right? Getting the LLC, like structuring the business in a way that makes sense. You don't need expensive lawyers to do that. You really don't. And especially with AI and ChatGPT, a lot of this technology can walk you through how to do that. And it's important stuff
Yeah.
to do, by the way. If you have a name or a logo and you want to protect that, like all of that can be done online. So first of all, second of all, so with my apparel company, I had a friend who was a graphic designer. And I said, can you help me sketch out just like what's in my brain? Because I'm not an artist. I'm not a fashion designer. I just know I want to create something that I think will sell.
Yeah.
And so look to your network, look to your personal network of someone who can help you. I thought, I don't need a professional designer. Like the factory is going to work with me on finalizing those designs, right? So don't fall into that trap thinking, well, I want to design a product, but I need a really expensive consultant to do it. It's a myth. You really don't. You just need to, as an entrepreneur, be willing to wear every single hat until you're financially at a place where you can hire out and delegate. Now, once and it cost me no money to source a factory. I went on Alibaba. I interviewed a few factories in China, got some samples. A lot of them will send you samples for not very much. Or if they're trying to get your business, they'll send you samples for free. Here's my designs, put together a sample. They're trying to get your business. So you're very, very little out of pocket if you can be creative in those ways. So it costs nothing to find a factory. Find a factory. Then at some point, yes, we were teasing the product out there to customers, and they're like, okay, we may want to place a small order. We want to place a small order here. It's never a giant order overnight, right? You got to show market traction for a while with smaller customers until you have to do that for a while until the larger customers kind of come through, right? And a lot of times, if you, let's say you have a product, you go to sell it locally, they could pay you up front. You could just say, listen, I don't give terms. Can you buy the product from me now and we'll deliver in 30 days? I did a lot of that. And then, yes, I did get to a point where I brought on like friends and family money. I had one
Yeah.
family member who said, hey, I think that this company has legs. You've shown traction in market. You've shown me that you're doing all the right things. And so I brought on a little bit of money from family and then eventually brought on larger investors. But I think people would be shocked if they saw just how very little money I spent in the beginning developing the product. It's just about creative thinking and knowing sort of how to work around those obstacles in developing the product and recruiting customers.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes the stories we tell ourselves, right? We create the stories to support the things we want to do. Oh, I need money. Oh, I cannot stop and all those things. And they might look to be true, but it's not exactly, it's not exactly what's happening. When there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, it's I've been through so many. I think to have limited access to capital is a real Achilles heel for sure for so many
Yeah.
startups. I don't think it needs to be. Um I think that there are broader conversations and advising that can happen that can walk creators through how to at least get a product in your hand and have something to sell without needing a ton of money. You're going to need capital at some point. There's no illusion
Yeah.
there, but you're going to have to do everything you possibly can on a shoestring budget if you need to. And honestly, even if you have deep pockets, like having access to capital is not necessarily a healthy thing in the beginning of a business. It doesn't force you to think creatively. It doesn't force you to uh, work harder. So I'm actually not even a big fan of that. If you're like an inventor and you're listening right now and you're like, I want to do this. I think I'm talented enough, but I don't have capital. Like that's a blessing. That's not a curse. Embrace
Hmm.
that. I say it all the time. Like embrace the difficulty. That's what's going to make you a better business owner. It's going to make you a better entrepreneur. So don't let that make you think you can't pursue whatever it is you're creating.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, one other thing people forget to talk about is, of course, when you're doing products, then you have to navigate getting the products and all that. But if you're offering a service, maybe like a coach or maybe, service stuff, you don't need that much capital except it's like a big stuff. And just, reach out and say, oh, what do you want me to do for you? And you have a business right there.
I mean, I could give you 12 business ideas right now in 12 minutes. You know what I mean? Like
Wow.
anyone can start a business. I mean, can anyone endure growing a business? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I think people don't realize, business ideas are in front of you every day. You mentioned consulting. There is a client for like any given service for sure. I mean, 6 billion people, 8 billion people on the planet. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, a consulting business, a fitness business. Yeah. You don't need capital. You need customers.
Yeah.
Get out there and sell yourself,
Yeah.
sell your services. Also a great avenue towards financial freedom.
Yeah. And when the customers or the clients pay, you can then, get the things you need to pay for. So you don't
Yeah,
spend money until you make money.
that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Hey, quick break. Before we continue, I'd love for you to join the Wisdom Journey newsletter. Every week, I share exclusive insights, tools, and behind the scenes updates to help you stay ahead in your own journey of building an online business. It's simple, practical, and built to help you grow. Sign up today for free at the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the episode. Yeah. Before the call, I was just asking uh, for my own curiosity, but now on your record, what are the businesses you are currently working on right now? And yeah,
Yeah. So I'm talking a lot about the fight of my life that I'm in right now legally. And I don't want to scare any listeners away from creating. Um, but it is a fascinating story, and I think there's a lot of value in me telling my story and founders, protecting themselves as they're bringing anything into market. But I am in a legal battle right now against a corporation who has produced a copycat product of mine. This is my second startup. And so that's been going on for 3 years. Um, really sort of moved away from that product because legally I can't even produce it right now because the corporation has a patent on my design.
yeah,
And so I've been kind of stagnant, like just navigating these legal issues, trying to get my product back. And at the same time, like obviously wanting to start another business because um that's what we do. That's like who I am.
yeah.
So
You're a
yes,
serial entrepreneur.
serial, I know. I tell people I have a disease. It's called serial entrepreneurism.
Yeah,
Thankfully, my husband is supportive. So I think so. I was saying before the call, I've always been very passionate about film and television. So I started a production company. I've written um, a scripted series. I've written an unscripted series. I would just like to write, produce, and direct. I think I'd like that to be sort of my legacy business. Um, I have a lot of funny stories. I have a lot of painful stories I can share as a female entrepreneur, and the in a sea full of male dominated industries.
yeah,
Written kind of a little bit around that, and so yeah, I think I'd like to write, direct, produce, and just yeah, I'm a creator at the end of the day. I just want to keep creating. Would at the end of this legal battle, would really like to get my product back and the ability to produce it. Um, I had different objectives. I was really going to grow a company around this product. And I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I'm not going to grow it into like the conglomerate that I thought I would, but I definitely still want to sell the product somehow.
wow. Was this
Yeah.
ever expected?
What's that?
Was this ever expected?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely I expected. Well, so I'm not teasing your listeners. Why don't I describe what the product was? Um, the product was a plastic disposable lid. So, we go out to eat. We get a cup and a lid that we like throw away. I designed a lid that is useful for kids so that it doesn't spill when they tip it over. It's like a spill proof plastic
Yeah.
lids. Okay. Um, it's a very novel design. When I designed the product, nothing existed really like it in the world. And did I expect it to be copied? Absolutely. Like that's, after I had my sweaters in market, like people were doing kind of similar things. That's
Yeah.
sort of bound to happen. What I didn't expect and why this is a legal battle at this point is because the copycat product from this corporation was made and they started marketing and selling it before my product was even public.
Oh,
And I had been in communications with this manufacturer before my product was public about producing it. So, my allegations are, well, you took what I gave you asking you to produce it and you produced it for yourself, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's my legal battle. And I did not expect it to happen that quickly, like before I hit market. And another reason it's a legal battle is because, my husband and I, we sold our house. We put every dime we had into this new business. And like 2 weeks after that corporation came out with their copycat product, I lost my investor because I did raise money. I
Oh,
had I had a
yeah.
great investor on board who's like, I'm not messing with that, like it really put me out of business overnight. So there are a lot of layers to it, right?
Yeah.
And so and I say this to a lot of creators, like, yeah, you have to expect that if you have a really great product, someone's going to copy it. I don't love that. I wish we could have better conversations about corporate responsibility when it comes to that stuff, but it is what it is and that's how it is now. And um but if you have product and you have customers and you have momentum, you can protect yourself from that. But I wasn't able to build that. They got to my product before I was able to get to that point, and that definitely was unexpected. I mean, I was betrayed in a way that I really didn't expect.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hmm. And you did talk about what are the possible turnouts of these scenarios,
A possible outcome.
Yeah, the possible outcomes.
The outcome that I would like to see is definitely getting my product back, right? Like
Yeah.
the corporation owns a patent on it now that, in my opinion, and what I'm claiming, they should not own, because it's my design. So, yeah, like ownership of the product for sure, and my ability to produce it and sell it. And I think I would really there's going to be one of two outcomes. Like we will settle, we'll agree to disagree, and we'll settle out of court, or we will go to trial. And we'll both sides will state the facts and let a jury decide on what they think happened. I think that a trial is not ideal because a lot of people get hurt in trial. I'm not out to ruin a company's reputation. I'm not out to ruin anyone's reputation or ability to earn. Like I just want what's right. And I think
Yeah.
what happened to me was not right, and it was so wrong, and it needs to be right. So, um, definitely like my ability to produce the product, agree to disagree, or agree in some kind of settlement, and then we just go our separate ways and move on. What would not be acceptable to me is that this corporation continues to produce this product without all of us knowing the facts and the reality like of what happened behind the scenes, them designing my product.
I mean, it's disheartening, you pour your mind, and soul and all those things into a product, and someone just comes out there and they just photocopy your work, and then say, "Oh yeah, this is me, this is mine," whereas you spend so much into it. And the annoying thing isn't the fact that they copied it, it's the fact now that they're like, it's not yours. You're not supposed to use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that's really crazy. I just cannot imagine, what you're going through right now. And I do know that eventually you overcome it, but it's just time and time that was supposed to be, making the product, selling it, and making money, of course. Now you have to like, it's just, but with this encounter now, of course, things happen, we learn, right? What are the things that, if you were to start a new business or if you deal with the patent issue on ground and moving forward with the business, what are the things that would become kind of like a must have such that you protect yourself from parasites, and not just parasites, whatever I'm trying to think of a name, but hyenas, how they look for
I call it,
for the lion to hunt, and then they come for the meat.
that's right. Yeah, I call them like pirates. I call it like
Yeah,
corporate
pirates.
piracy, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Definitely. So this is a very good question, and the answer is different for any entrepreneur because ultimately it just comes down to what your product is. When it
mm,
comes to my product, and if you have a product that you're creating that functions a certain way. So
yeah,
my lid, it may look a certain way, right? And we got a design patent which covers how it looks. So if someone tries to just straight up copy it down to the detail,
yeah,
then my design patent protects me in the court system.
yeah,
What I did not get, and what I and it's the reason I'm in the situation I am now. So a must have for anyone who has an invention or creation that performs a certain way, get a utility patent, because a
mm,
utility patent protects how it functions. So even if a company comes in and designs something that looks a little bit different, if they do the same thing, then the patent is much stronger
yeah,
and will kind of keep companies away. They'll say that's an expensive patent, like as much as we want her product, that's an expensive lawsuit, not worth it. Like, so my lid performed a function, like performed a certain way. This is true for IP, or like tech and the certain code and like technology that applies too, for sure. It's like if it does something specific and it's copied, then you have a patent case. My attorney advised me against getting a utility patent. She said it's very expensive, time consuming, really hard to get. And it's like, as a startup founder, you hear expensive and you're like, okay, no, we just won't do it,
yeah,
or maybe we won't do it yet. Well, I think in hindsight, that was bad advice. And the reason I'm in the legal battle now is because the corporation went and got a utility patent. So even if I said, well, I'm going to try to sell my product anyway and compete with this corporation, I legally can't. I'm legally precluded from producing my product in market because they have a utility patent. And
yeah,
so not only in my allegations am I saying you took my design, now you have a patent on it, so I would just go away completely. And that to me just was like so wrong. So definitely a must have is a utility patent if you have a creation that like functions a certain way. And by the way, if you're like, I know I want to invent something, I know I want to start a business, try to think. I know this goes without saying and it's obvious, but it's true. Like your greatest protection really is just um, finding something that's so unique, right? And that functions a certain way so that you really can protect it. So a judge can say, no, 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 this isn't a very common thing. This is a very novel thing. And the patent office will say the same thing, and you can have that protection in place. And that, I think that'll keep a lot of corporate pirates away.
yeah. Well, that's thank you so much for the advice. You talked about creating brain on loan,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm curious. I know I've asked you a similar version of this question before we start recording, but what inspired you to create brain on loan, and what is even brain on loan?
Mm-hmm. Brain on loan is just what it sounds like. It's my brain on loan to any of my listeners. We were talking before recording that, entrepreneurs have very, very special talents. And a lot of these talents are earned, and these talents are earned through painful experiences, through hard lessons, through the absolute necessity to be patient, to be organized, to be creative, to think creatively, to think outside the box, to get through any given obstacle. And I think that that lends itself to a lot of great advice for entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs. So the platform is very simply this. It's just if you have a business, you want to start a business, you're trying to grow a business, you're trying to sell a business. I've been through all of that. And I know that I did not have very many places to turn for advice. And I've had more failures than I've had successes. And that is I think that's invaluable. So, and I hate the idea that no one maybe has somewhere to turn to, or if they feel like they have somewhere to turn to, they have to pay money. They have to pay a consultant. They have to pay for business coaching.
Yeah.
So, as I'm navigating this legal battle, I just really wanted to share my story. First of all, you asked great questions about putting protections in place, and I think that
Yeah.
that's great. But please learn from my mistakes so you're not in the same situation. But also, just giving advice on any other aspects of the business. Like I want to spend my time positively now and giving back to the entrepreneurial ecosystem. I think I just call it entrepreneurial advocacy. And on top of that, I think that there's, non-entrepreneurs. I think that there are talents that entrepreneurs have that can help in just life situations and
Yeah.
helping people unpack something. If you're going through a divorce, and you don't know how to protect yourself, if you're, starting a new job, if you're deciding like what to study in college, I think that there's a lot of value in the lessons we learn in building and growing and sometimes losing our businesses, and I've experienced all of that. And so it's really just about me giving back. The platform will feature a guest who's gone through entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs who have gone through life struggles like we all have. And you can submit questions through my website, brainonloan.com. And we air the questions and we walk through your struggle or just, if it's just a very basic question, how do I start an LLC? I live in Alabama. I want to start an LLC. Like we'll walk you through that for free. It's just free advice and hopefully advice of value to anyone who's needing it.
Thank you so much. Where can listeners, learn more about the work you do, connect with you, and also tune into your podcast once it goes live?
Definitely brainonloan.com. My production company is Working Girl Productions. That's workinggirlproductions.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm big on LinkedIn. That's where I make a ton of contacts. So if you want to, you can email me through either of my sites, but you can also reach me on LinkedIn. And again, the forum is open now, starting now. If you have a question and you want your question or your struggle discussed on an upcoming episode, go ahead and submit. And hopefully, we can get to as many as we possibly can.
I will put the links mentioned in the description so listeners can click and go directly to the site. Thank you so much, Amanda. It's been a lovely conversation. Thanks for tuning into Wisdom Journey. I hope today's episode gave you practical steps and fresh ideas to keep moving forward. If you found value, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with a fellow creator or entrepreneur who'd love to learn too. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and the link in the description for more resources, experiments, and lessons straight to your inbox. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep walking your own wisdom journey. Yeah.